Have you ever wondered if the waste materials we often ignore have the potential to fuel our flights? Let's delve into the world of biomass, where this isn't just a possibility, but a reality. Biomass is a term we use to describe the organic materials we can harness for energy. This could be anything from wood chips to crop residues to dedicated energy crops. These materials, often seen as waste, hold an untapped potential waiting to be transformed into a renewable energy source. The beauty of biomass is in its abundance and versatility. Picture this: vast fields of corn, wheat, and other crops. After harvest, the leftover plant materials or crop residues can be used to generate power. Similarly, wood waste from the timber industry can be repurposed, turning something that once would have been discarded into a valuable energy source. And then there are energy crops, plants grown specifically for energy production. These crops, like switchgrass and miscanthus, are perennials, meaning they grow back year after year, creating a sustainable cycle of energy production. Now, imagine all these sources of biomass being used to power your next flight. Yes, you heard it right. The potential of biomass extends beyond our homes and vehicles, reaching as far as the aviation industry. By converting biomass into jet fuel, we are not only making aviation more sustainable, we are also addressing another pressing issue: waste management. Every year, tons of organic waste materials are produced, a significant portion of which end up in landfills. Using these materials as biomass not only provides a solution to this waste problem, but also helps in the reduction of greenhouse gases. So biomass not only provides a sustainable solution to our energy needs, but also a way to manage waste effectively. As we venture further into this fascinating world of biomass, let's keep in mind the potential it holds to transform our future from waste to wings. Now, how do we turn this biomass into something that can power an airplane? Well, let's dive right into the process. It all begins with the harvesting and collection of biomass. Think of this as gathering the raw ingredients for a recipe. We collect crop residues, wood waste, and dedicated energy crops, all of which are abundant and renewable sources of energy. This biomass is then transported to a processing plant where it undergoes the first step of transformation. Now, you might be wondering, how do we go from a pile of plant matter to a liquid fuel? The answer lies in a remarkable process called pyrolysis. This is where the magic happens. Pyrolysis, derived from the Greek words pyro, meaning fire, and lysis, meaning separating, is a thermochemical decomposition of organic material at elevated temperatures without the presence of oxygen. Essentially, it's a fancy way of saying we're cooking the biomass. During pyrolysis, the biomass is heated to high temperatures, commonly in the range of 400 to 500 degrees Celsius. This process is carried out in the absence of oxygen to prevent combustion. As the biomass heats up, it begins to break down into smaller, more manageable molecules. These include gases, small quantities of liquid, and a solid residue rich in carbon and ash, often referred to as biochar. The gases and liquids produced during pyrolysis are then condensed into a bio-oil. This bio-oil is a dark brown, viscous liquid with a similar consistency to molasses. It's this bio-oil that forms the basis of our sustainable aviation fuel. So in essence, the process of pyrolysis is like cooking the biomass, breaking it down into smaller, more manageable molecules. This is the first step in the journey from waste to wings, from plant matter to sustainable aviation fuel. Stay tuned, as in the next scene, we'll delve deeper into the subsequent steps of the process. We now have smaller molecules, but how do we make them fly? That's where the next exciting step comes in, the process of upgrading. Think of upgrading as a refining process. We've got these smaller molecules from the process of pyrolysis, right? Now we need to treat and convert these molecules into a synthetic crude oil. It's a bit like cooking, but instead of a tasty dish, we're cooking up a sustainable future. So, how does this happen? Well, we start by using a catalyst. This catalyst helps to break down the complex structure of the molecules and rearrange them into something more useful for our purposes. It's kind of like a puzzle. The catalyst helps us to take apart the pieces and put them back together in a different, more beneficial way. But it's not only about rearranging. We also need to remove any impurities that may be present. This is crucial because these impurities can cause problems later on in the process. They can lead to corrosion in the engines or can lower the quality of our fuel. So, we ensure that every molecule is as clean and pure as it can be. This upgrading process is conducted under specific conditions of temperature and pressure. It's a delicate balance, and maintaining it is crucial for the success of the transformation. If the conditions are just right, the end product of this step is a form of synthetic crude oil. This synthetic crude oil is then ready to move on to the next stage of the process, getting us one step closer to our goal of sustainable aviation fuel. It is in this step that we witness the magic of science. What was once discarded as waste has now been transformed into a potential source of energy. Upgrading is the magic step that turns our cooked biomass into a form of synthetic crude oil. The journey from waste to wings continues, and we're just getting started. So, keep watching as we unveil the next steps in this incredible transformation process. From synthetic crude oil to aviation fuel, what happens in between? Let's embark on the final leg of our journey, the process of refining. You see, the synthetic crude oil we have produced isn't quite ready to propel airplanes through the sky. It's a bit like a rough diamond with immense potential but needing a bit of polishing to truly shine. That's where refining comes into play. Refining is essentially a purification process. It involves heating the synthetic crude oil in a distillation column, which is a tall cylindrical tower filled with trays or plates. As the oil heats, it separates into different components based on their boiling points. This is called fractional distillation. The heavier components with higher boiling points, such as lubricating oils and waxes, settle at the bottom of the column. The lighter components with lower boiling points, such as kerosene and gasoline, rise to the top. And right there, in the middle of the column, we find our coveted aviation fuel. But we're not quite done yet. This raw aviation fuel still needs a bit of fine-tuning to meet the stringent quality standards of the aviation industry. It undergoes additional processes like hydrocracking, where large hydrocarbon molecules are broken down into smaller, more useful ones. It's also treated to remove any impurities that might have escaped the initial distillation process. Through these refining processes, we can achieve the desired properties for our aviation fuel. It needs to be light enough to not weigh the aircraft down, yet energy dense enough to power long flights. It also needs to be stable at a wide range of temperatures, since planes can experience everything from tropical heat at ground level to sub-zero temperatures at cruising altitudes. And voila! Our biomass has now transformed into aviation fuel, ready to power our flights. By harnessing the potential of biomass and through a series of intricate processes, we've managed to create a sustainable solution to one of the world's most energy-intensive industries. And that, my friends, is truly something to marvel at. So, what does this mean for the future of aviation and our planet? As we look into the horizon, the potential of sustainable aviation fuel is as limitless as the sky itself. Imagine a world where our flights are powered by a fuel that is not only renewable but also helps reduce carbon emissions. That's the promise of sustainable aviation fuel, a solution that could reshape the future of our planet. Today, aviation contributes to around 2% of global carbon emissions. But the advent of sustainable aviation fuel could change this. Derived from biomass, this fuel has the potential to reduce the carbon footprint of aviation by up to 80%. Isn't that incredible? However, this is not just about the environment. Sustainable aviation fuel also brings economic benefits. The process of converting biomass into fuel could create new jobs and bolster local economies, especially in rural areas where biomass is plentiful. Of course, like any emerging technology, sustainable aviation fuel has its challenges. Currently, it's more expensive to produce than conventional jet fuel. Also, the supply of biomass is limited, and there are concerns about the impact of large-scale biomass cultivation on food security and biodiversity. But these challenges are not insurmountable. Scientists and researchers are hard at work developing ways to make the production process more efficient and exploring alternative sources of biomass. Every day, we're getting closer to making sustainable aviation fuel a viable alternative to fossil fuels. In the end, the journey from waste to wings is not just about powering our flights. It's about creating a sustainable future for all. It's about proving that with the right technology and the will to innovate, we can turn even the most ordinary things like crop residue or wood waste into something extraordinary. The journey from waste to wings is not just about powering our flights, but also about creating a sustainable future for all.